When we last left off here, Grimlock actually chose a much more peaceful route instead of going after Shockwave. He chose the compassion of his injured teammates over the vengeance that he craved for wanting to torture and rip apart Shockwave for what he done to him. And in doing so, he fought his way through Kaon, gave Megatron a beating that would be worthy of his G1 counterpart, instilling the fear of the dinosaurs in the Decepticon leader, and was the only Dinobot to enter the Ark, and hopefully guide Optimus through his toughest times. But this is where we pick off here, or basically we continue here, with one of the few things that we know about Transformers Prime was an event called the Battle of Thunderhead Pass, but we never got any look into it, right? So, before we head into Transformers Prime, let's talk about it. Or, basically, let's create it here. We begin with a piece of the Ark floating in space here. A few Autobots are clearly on it here. And it crash lands on a storm planet filled with thunder and lightning. As the piece of the Ark crashes, we finally get to see some of the Autobots wake up. The Autobots being Optimus, Grimlock, Bumblebee, Ratchet, Bulkhead, and another addition, Windblade. Each of the Autobots wake up and make sure they sound off here. Optimus making sure everyone's alright, even though he is slightly injured from his fight with Megatron that Grimlock was able to, well, save him in time from. You see, the original ending I actually, had to go with in the last one was Megatron getting the upper hand on Optimus, but Grimlock comes in to save him before Megatron finishes the job. So, bear with it as you will. With that being said here and continuing on here, with the Autobots now regrouping, they realize that they are far from the Ark here. And Ratchet, using whatever tech he has left here, designates that they are on a regional storm planet, one that was actually held by Megatron himself here. To which Bumblebee, despite his voice box, actually begins to transform and scout the area. To which Bulkhead, Ratchet, and Windblade tell him to stop as they don't know the planet just yet here, and that it's best if they kind of just stick here for a moment. Now, some time does pass here, and this is where they actually see a piece of the Nemesis crash down miles, and I mean miles away from them here. Everyone is a bit curious, but again, they know they need to investigate it. So, Optimus asks Windblade and Grimlock to go search it. The female Aerobot and the Dinobot immediately transform into respective forms and basically make their way over there. Albeit it is a very long distance away here, and not wanting to burn Energon, Windblade kind of keeps herself close to Grimlock here, or at least in a respectable, aerial distance from him here. And this is where I would have the two basically bond with each other, wondering how someone like Grimlock ended up in such a beast-like state, to which Grimlock would explain it. And the two would form this bond together here, admiring each other or basically accepting each other for who they are here. Windblade, albeit a bit newer into the Cybertronian warfare, is very battle-hardened and a bit more experienced and skilled than most Aerobots, whereas Grimlock is been in the war for years, even being one of Optimus's head lieutenants here. So she does respect him, but again, this gives them that sort of bond to where they can build something past a simple lieutenant and soldier relationship. But as they make it to the crash site, they actually find something interesting. They find a few Decepticon drones, and it being led by the Decepticon, Quake. Now, Quake is from the Fall of Cybertron game, or at least in the aligned continuity, and he's a Destroyer-class Decepticon. A Decepticon that basically is in the same class as characters like Brawl. So, him being here and him searching his larger portion of the Nemesis, or, well, his Nemesis, I should say here, is very reasonable here. And again, we kind of need somebody, right? So, as he pretty much searches through the rubble, Grimlock and Windblade transform and actually hide behind one of the few boulders there, kind of observing. They wonder what he's looking for with these Decepticon drones here. And this is where Quake actually is able to finally get through the rubble and extends his hand, and the person that takes it is Mixmaster, the leader of the Constructicons, to which Grimlock is a bit cautious. He understands the Constructicons are dangerous, but he only sees Mixmaster. But unfortunately, his fears are realized when the rest of the, let us see, I think it was 6 Constructicons, right? So the rest of the 5 Constructicons basically come out there, and well, they actually begin to work on the ship here almost immediately. And this is where Grimlock and Windblade both realize that they need to get off this planet now. To which they both make their way back towards Optimus, but Grimlock trips on a rock, or, his footing, gets a little bit loose. And, well, this kind of exposes them. And, well, Quake, transforming into a Cybertron in take mode, unleashes a barrage of firepower upon them, but they're able to just barely get away from them here. Understanding that there are Autobots on this planet and recognizing Windblade's Autobot signature, or pretty much her self in general here, he says that it's very possible that the Prime is not too far. So, with that being said here, he tells his Viacons to transform and attack. Basically, yeah, we're going to get a hot pursuit here with an entire dinosaur with jet boosters on his back trying to outrun cars for a little bit here. And you might say, why is he trying to run here? And it is because he doesn't want to risk a fight with the Constructicons just yet. Keep in mind, in the last chapter, Grimlock had fought Bruticus and was actually getting beaten up pretty badly, or at least decently here. Or, again, excuse me, sorry, was stalemating him until Jazz and Jetfire arrived. So he's still a bit damaged from that encounter here. So, with that being said here, they are able to successfully outmaneuver most of the Viacons and actually ambush them in a cave here. However, while they take out a few, they seem to have awakened something. And this is where I would have Sharkticons, just adding more problems and more trouble to the planet. The Sharkticons tear through the Viacons like a hot knife going through butter, eating and devouring them, giving Grimlock and Windblade a chance to fully escape here. And this is where I would have them return back to Optimus and convey what they saw here. Now, at this time, while they are discussing it, Ratchet is making repairs to Bumblebee and Bulkhead here, getting them up to speed. To which Bulkhead says that they don't have enough firepower to really take on Devastator. However, Grimlock says he could probably do it if he does get a little bit of repairs to a certain, well, areas of his body. To which Ratchet actually does agree here, and so does Optimus. So Ratchet actually utilizing some of the more major materials for, I guess you could say, his medical stuff here. He's able to get Grimlock into a much more, I guess you could say, battle-capable situation. He doesn't understand Grimlock's biology. Not fully just yet. It is going to take time, because again, Ratchet has not prepared him just yet, or at all until this point. So, this actually is a growing moment for Ratchet as well here. And, well, the Autobots that are actually capable of being battle-ready at the moment are Windblade, Bulkhead, and Bumblebee. And unfortunately for them, in the distance, they actually see Quake and the Constructicons coming for them. The battle ensues with Optimus, albeit in a weakened state, still able to go toe-to-toe with Quake, while Windblade, using her turbines to create powerful tornadoes and gusts, are able to push back most of the Constructicons. Bulkhead is able to go toe-to-toe with at least 2 of them, and Bumblebee, using his speed and agility, is able to avoid most of them and shoot in areas that he deems are, vital enough for them. This kind of combination at least holds them off a bit here, but again, due to Optimus Prime not being repaired from his injuries, Quake does take advantage of this and parries Optimus Prime's blows, hits him in the back with a haymaker, no diddy, and then transforms into a Cybertronian tank mode and blasts Optimus' back, causing even more damage to him. At this time, Ratchet has actually finished repairing Grimlock fully. And this is where Grimlock turns into his Tyrannosaurus state and bum rushes. Just straight up bull rushes. And matter of fact, no, I got a better idea. He causes an earthquake with his footstep, offsetting everyone there. Again, kind of putting that whole strongest Cybertronian thing to a full use here. So, with that being said here, this means that we now get a battle that we've been waiting for. Quake tells the Constructicons to not hold anything back. Combine and form Devastator. To which the Constructicons do without any hesitation here. Now, at first, Grimlock is thinking that he should stop this, but he actually wants to see where this kind of goes here. He actually wants to test himself against a worthwhile combiner, much to the other Autobots' protest, but he tells them to get Optimus out of there now. Meanwhile, Bulkhead actually goes against Quake in this one here, and keep in mind again, Quake is slightly damaged from his fight with Optimus Prime, so Bulkhead is able to put up a much better fight and actually get somewhat of a much more equal footing off with Quake here than he would in a full power against full power scenario. Meanwhile, Grimlock and Devastator are actually clashing, and I would also give Devastator the ability to emit earthquakes with his blows here, considering the fact that most combiners do have some form of seismic emission, being able to cause earthquakes with their foot stumps, or with Bruticus with his sonic pain wave. So I would actually give him like these glowing red knuckles, or these knuckles that can pretty much glow red when he's about to unleash a very similar attack here. Grimlock, understanding this after a while, turns into his robot form and begins to basically do what Bay vs. Optimus did to Infernigus. He's actually stabbing Devastator all around. He's stomping, he's, stabbing on him, climbing around him, slicing at areas he wants here. And he is taking an interest to those sonic pain wave punches, or those seismic emitters. And this is where Devastator is eventually able to grab Grimlock and slams him into the ground. But as he comes down for a punch here, this is where we have a moment where, kind of in a reminiscence to the G1 era or to some of the IDW series here, Grimlock is able to catch the punch of Devastator and stop it cold, despite the sheer fact that a sonic pain wave basically went off in his hand. He remains slightly undamaged, and this shocks Devastator, Quake, Bulkhead, the Autobots nearby, and even Grimlock himself. He didn't think he was that strong. It was basically kind of like a wing and a prayer. He didn't know he would be that powerful here. And this is where Grimlock turns that surprise of Devastator into a full-on advantage, actually being able to tear one of the arms off of Devastator and then proceeds to turn into his Dinobot form. And well, we kind of get a classic moment from G1 where Devastator actually couldn't get his component arm or one of his arm components here. And well, it kind of left him in a 1v5 situation against the Dinobots here, except in this one, it's just Grimlock by himself, and he's looking for his pound of metallic flesh. So, with that being said here, Grimlock then proceeds to tear apart Devastator at that point here. And just to kind of be sure here, he makes sure he burns Devastator completely. But he does rip the hand that carried the seismic emitters on it off, because he is going to want that for later here. So, with that being said here, Grimlock does beat Devastator. And, well, Quake eventually gets beaten by Bulkhead and has to flee here. However, Grimlock tells Bulkhead not to pursue him, as he's going to be on his own on this planet anyway. And, well, may Primus help him if he gets found by something unwanted. And this is where we would have Bulkhead and Grimlock both go back to Optimus, who's getting repaired by Ratchet, with Bumblebee and Windblade looking over him. And this is where Grimlock drags both of the arms of Devastator to Ratchet, saying that it's very possible that he could use these pieces to repair Optimus. Ratchet, taking note of this, actually does utilize some of the parts of Devastator, or, the arms of Devastator. I mean, they're giant behind combiner arms. They are in individual Constructicon each, so it is what it is. So using that, he's able to actually repair Optimus and get him back up to at least a battle-ready shape. He then continues to use the other parts of Devastator the other remaining parts of Devastator's arm components here to fix up Bumblebee, Bulkhead, Windblade, and Bulkhead here. He even gives Grimlock the seismic emitters. This means that Grimlock can easily use the sonic pain wave in both of his individual hands at that point, making him a much more devastating force to be reckoned with. But now they have to think of something. Where do they go? They're stranded here on this planet. To which Optimus says that the Decepticons were looking at a planet rich with energon, and he asks Grimlock if that was the case. And he says, yeah, it seemed to be this primal planet called Earth. So Ratchet says that he can make a space bridge, or at least a ground bridge that gets them to Earth here. But again, he's gonna need more materials than what they have here. To which Windblade suggests that they should go back to the Decepticon warship and use their tech, considering Decepticon engineering has always been more so advanced than the Autobots in general here. I think that it would actually be, she would think that it would be vital for them to use it. Ratchet is at first uneasy about this here, but again, with a little convincing from the rest of the Autobots and that fact that they'll help him, he is a bit more warm to the idea of, using Decepticon engineering. So, the Autobots, all together, go to the Decepticon warship in their Cybertronian vehicle modes, and, Quake is there. But he's not alive. He's actually being devoured by Sharkticons. Crazy, ain't it? Seeing this, the Autobots immediately pull out their weapons and open fire on the Sharkticons here, killing them, slicing them up, doing whatever they can do here. And they by that time, meanwhile, Ratchet is going in the ship, gathering all the materials he needs here, and having Bulkhead, carry some of the heavier stuff with him, while Optimus, Windblade, Grimlock, and Bumblebee hold off the Constructicons, the Sharkticons here. So, Ratchet actually goes on and builds this space bridge from now on. They do have to have some encounters with the Sharkticons and everything here and there, but again, more so, they are fine here. And Ratchet actually builds a successful ground bridge. And this is where everyone follows Optimus to Earth. And this is where we have another change here. Windblade's there. So the team right now is Optimus, Bumblebee, Bulkhead, Ratchet, Windblade, and Grimlock. All on Earth here. And kind of some of the things happen the same. They eventually meet Agent Fowler. They eventually get their Earth-based vehicle modes. Except Grimlock is a bit more different here. You see, with Grimlock still being a Tyrannosaurus Rex here, I think Grimlock would be more so reserved on going on missions, at least in more public areas. He would go on more energon mining things or more destructive missions here. And most of the time, he would actually spend time in Africa. I think he would actually make his own little human friend here with a wildlife ranger, actually scaring off poachers and giving more life to the myth of a Kaiser Rex. We could say Grimlock is a bit redder in this one, or, thanks to him getting a bit more used to his upgrades by Ratchet and now having the seismic emitters of Devastator on him now, he is a bit more, I guess you could say, used to himself now. He's much more comfortable in his Dinobot skin, okay? But then we have other arrivals, like RC and Cliffjumper, like in the original. And so this kind of shows a new dawn for Team Prime. They go out for Energon. They battle mainly Viacons that are on this planet here. And, everything seems fine. Until one thing happens. A Decepticon warship comes into Earth's atmosphere. And the person that is on it is none other than Starscream, Soundwave, and his brothers, Thundercracker and Skywarp. And that's where we're going to leave it off here, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I will be covering the Rising Darkness saga in the next part. Peace.